It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. Anyway, hey, whoever chooses to join in on this, we were just talking about how like no preparation was going in, and like, hey, I don't know how you stumbled across here, but thanks for being here if you are here. We can just go around introducing ourselves. This is my channel. My name's Nidhi. I've read Gone Girl 2 times, and I've gave it 5 stars both times, as it deserves. And it's my favorite thriller ever for multiple reasons that we can get into. And I'm joined by my favorite people ever here. So yeah, we can just go around.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I have a channel, Let Me in the Library. I read Gone Girl back in December in preparation for a January live show that did not happen. So I kind of remember some stuff that happened, including the thing that Susan just texted the group that was like, oh my God. And I was like, the show's starting in 2 minutes. How dare you? So I will try my best to remember the events of the book. But I think I gave Gone Girl like, I want to say it was like 4.75 stars. Like it was very, very close to a 5-star. And I think it was just like some things that we can get into during the live show in more of like the spoilery section of why. But I enjoyed it and I'm excited to talk about it.
Yay.
Susan, did you finish the book?
I did. I joined at 7:59 and I finished it at 7:58. Or
oh my God.
9 in your time zone. But yeah, I don't procrastinate anything ever. So I don't really know what I'm gonna rate it because I just finished it, but I think maybe like 2 or 3 stars.
What?
I know. I think I think it makes sense with Rachel because I know we don't really have similar tastes. But like I thought I would like it as much as Nidhi because we usually have the same taste.
Well, like, what are your like favorite thrillers? Like maybe I can like go off that. So I'm trying to keep the link out finally.
I'm so proud of you. I've hated like every single thriller I've read, so maybe it's just because I have high.
Maybe it's a you problem.
Yeah, that's the thing for most things. Generally, that's how it is. But I just like thought it was really boring, especially with the first half. I'm sorry. Yeah, I know everyone's like, oh, it's like a page turner. I couldn't put it on.
Hey, King. Sorry.
Hey, Leo Becker reads us.
How does
he actually like
he used words
relevant?
He said a thing that was related to the thing that we're in. Oh my God!
So proud of you. Wow, the AI is really.
It's really improving. Good job.
I'm very proud of you.
Beckeresis.com, you're doing pretty well. I'm excited for you to watch soon this summer. I just want to say before the thread gets away, because I need to continue to harass Susan for this, but I love that Susan's like name is Susan is reading because she is currently reading what we're on the show to talk about. It has to be like in the present tense. Susan is still reading.
I mean, I kind of was when I was joining the link, but we don't need to talk about
it's okay. That's good because then it's still so fresh for you. So I feel like if I'm like, I liked this, and you'll be like, I just read it and it was actually this, and I'll be like, oh no. So
I'm still not over the 2-3 star thing. We need to go into.
I'm sorry. I know, but like I just think I'm not going to be organized. Like, I'm not going to have any coherent thoughts because I usually go on Goodreads beforehand to prep. Like, if I have a live show for a specific book, and I'll read through, like, smart people's reviews.
No. Authentic Susan thoughts only. Susan is thinking.
For the first time.
Not the rebrand.
Okay, wait. Which thrillers have you read before? Both of you. I'm actually curious.
Okay. So after reading Gone Girl, I went through a thriller phase because I go through phases in my reading. Is that normal? Like right now I'm in my manga phase. Thank you, Rachel, for that. So I read Gone Girl and then I was like, this is my favorite genre ever. So I read The Girl on the Train. I also really like that. Like Paula Hawkins, if y'all have read her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read Girl on the Train and I read Into the Water.
Yeah. And she's coming out with the 3rd book.
I didn't really like Into the Water though, because I felt like a lot of the stuff that happened near the end was like bizarre.
Yeah, I gave it 4 stars, which is less than.
I think I gave it 2 stars. I think
they played me. Yeah.
I think like Girl on the Train was like the first like real thriller book I read, like domestic thriller, kind of thriller-ish type book I ever read, I think. So I think I gave that one like 4 stars or more. I think at the time. I may have like changed my rating since then, since I've like picked up more, but I think that was my initial thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Did you read any others? Like other authors? Oh, I was saying, like, did you read any other authors?
Yeah, like I think we talked about Ruth Ware, how I read some.
Oh yeah, my favorite.
I liked which one was it? The Woman in Cabin 10, but like in retrospect, it's not that good.
I hate that book. It's awful.
It was not bad.
So bad. Nothing happened.
Okay, keep in mind, my thriller phase was in 8th grade, okay? I was in middle school. But I thought it was not peak fiction, but I thought it was like interesting enough. And then I liked The Woman in the Window.
The Woman in AJ Finn.
Yes.
Right? Yes. Yeah. Okay. I think I gave Women in the Window like 5 stars.
Me too.
Yeah.
And then I gave up reading thrillers because they were all literally the same thing. So yeah,
that's true. Like I feel like it's just so tropey. That's the main problem.
Yes.
Like, Gone Girl.
And it's Wait, did you say Gone Girl?
That's what you said.
Why is he agreeing with me?
Literally.
No.
Sorry. Like it was just very predictable. I don't know.
No, it was not. How did you predict? We're not getting the spoilers, but how did you predict?
I don't know. It was just also.
You predicted that plot twist. You're telling me you telling me you predicted.
Wait, did you watch the movie?
No, I haven't. But yeah, I don't know. Am I really smart or is the book just bad? I don't know.
Because I did not predict that plot twist. I was like not on the side I was supposed to. You know what I mean? Like that. Yeah.
Oh, were you on like? Wait.
Nick's side.
Spoiler, right?
No.
You're on Nick's side?
Well, okay, so first I was obviously on, what was her name? Nick.
Amy.
Yeah, sorry.
It's your favorite. What are you doing?
Sorry, I knew it was like basic. I thought it was like, okay, well, Amy Dunn. I know her name. Okay. I was on Amy's side in the beginning, and then that plot twist came with the diary and everything. You know what I'm talking about? That like one moment. And I was like, mind blown. And yeah, not that Nick's side is like better. Okay, I'm talking too much. Rachel, what are your thoughts?
So I came from the perspective of having watched the movie around the time when it came out already, and then that whole phenomenon like took over everything. So every single time you pick up a book, everyone's like, "It's the new Gone Girl," and you're like, "It's literally not. It's simply not." So I was like, well, I'm interested to read the source material because I've heard it's good. And then Nidhi was like, it's my favorite. So I was like, okay, I'll read it. And I really liked it, even though I knew what was going to happen. And I think it was just sort of the, like I haven't watched the movie since I had first seen it, but I think it was the way that it was able to still paint the same pictures. And I don't know. I started reading like domestic thrillers and stuff in, I want to say like 2017. Or something like that, because I had to work a like clerical job where you just move papers all day long, and I was like, this is really boring. It'd be great if I could listen to something. Audiobooks are a thing, so I incredible. So I just started like reading a lot of those, and yes, they are very tropey at times, and I kind of feel like if you're very into thrillers, sometimes it's easy to predict what's going to happen. So now I feel like I have a certain threshold for murder mysteries or like thriller murder mystery type thing. So I'm just like, it's always the husband, number one. Someone is probably somebody else in the story where there's two people, but they're actually the same person. But sometimes they throw that in your face and it's actually
yeah.
Like there are certain things that you start to look out for. So at times you read things like The Woman in Cabin 10 and you're like, because the thing that they did at the very end of that with the little note, I was like, this is bullshit. Like, this is so basic.
That's true. The ending was not my favorite.
And I was like, this just kind of feels like you took like a class on how to write domestic thrillers and you just took like the textbook examples of everything, but you didn't weave it together. And that's usually my problem, where like things are just trope, really loose threads and stuff. But I felt like Gone Girl really spent a lot of time, because it's like a 500-page book or whatever, but it spent a lot of time actually like building up both perspectives. But the problem is when you know what the twist is, you're sort of just like waiting, because you're like, why are we still following Nick around? Because, like, aren't there other things to be said? And it's just like, Nick, 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 and him being like, oh my god, huh,
my wife.
There's some stuff with, like, the diary entry, and you're like, well, this is interesting. And I feel like domestic thrillers put me in a weird headspace, because I was just like, this is why I can never get married, because then my husband will kill me, and then someone will have to solve it, but no one is smart enough to do that unless you're actually in a domestic thriller, and you're like, I'll just go investigate because I have nothing better to do. What are the odds? So it's that, or I will have to solve a crime in which my husband kills somebody, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. Marriage is so much work. I don't know. So existential crises aside, it's a genre I love very much after having gotten over that phase of my life of constant fear of, constant fear of men still exists, but I mean, different kind. So yes, but I do feel like Gone Girl like did a decent job of like drawing for you the scenes that were portrayed in the movie, but it is very long. I just found that it was very easy to read because it did feel like a page turner or a chapter listener, easy to type thing. Because I really, really enjoyed it, but it was like a 19-hour audiobook.
It's so long.
So
I listened to it on audio too, but I only listened the second time I read it. I only listen to audiobooks when I travel, so it didn't seem like too much for me. Plus, it's so good, so I don't care.
I feel like I read the whole thing in like 3 days, I think. It started off and I was like taking some time, but I think somewhere around like the 8-hour mark, I just got really into it and I just read like everything in a row. Susan, you carry the conversation. Niddy's gone.
We miss you, Niddy.
Lots that we have on the show.
I guess I'll bring the unpopular opinion to this live show. I don't know. It was just so hard to get through. I started it like a week ago, and like I said,
You started it a week ago.
Yeah, I had to like procrastinate. It was just so boring. Nothing was happening.
Okay, how could you possibly think that?
I knew what was happening. Like it was just the same thing over and over again. It was like,
no, it was not. Okay, we started off the story with this perfect like marriage, and like as a character-based reader, I think you understand why I love these characters so much.
Yeah, the characters are done really well, but it's
exactly. So what else is there to go for? Like I don't care about plot. I don't care about like what thrillness. Like I'm here for the characters.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so the characters were done well, but I feel like it was very bloated. You know, like it was the same character development over and over again. Like it was like Nick is thinking about his dad. I don't want to be like him. And then like it'd be the same exact line 3 pages later, and it was just very repetitive.
Okay. I understand the repetitiveness of it, but when you go to like certain plot twists and like the details she puts into like each of their like for example like Amy's strategy, like the detail she put into that, and like the detail she put into like building past characters that like came back, like for example like Amy's childhood or something like that, or Nick's sister, it just like made sense why all like flowed together for me.
Okay, I have a question. What happened with Nick's sister? Because I've forgotten.
Margot?
I literally don't know who that is.
So basically, she was a side character. Like nothing significant happened to her, but like the relationship she played with Nick, it's like the media like turned it into like, look how he treats his sister. Kind of like, I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but like even though she was a side character, she still had like purpose for being there, which most side characters in thriller have like no purpose. Which Susan, I'm gonna convince you to like rate this 1 star by the end of the show.
3 stars isn't bad though. Like 3 stars meant I liked it.
You
but
said 2 and 3.
2.5. That's an average rating, right?
But you rate it on like a 6-point scale. You're like, do you ever give it 6 stars?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So 2.5 is statistically less than half if you give
exactly.
Well,
Okay, but it's fair because Susan obviously didn't enjoy it, which is fine. I prefer to like have the live shows where people are just like, I hate this, and everyone's like, I love this, and like no
That's
apologies,
true.
absolutely no apologies. So like
That's very true. I just have very few favorites, so this is hurting me. But you're right, Rachel.
You're very picky with your 5 stars.
Aw, thank you. That's not true though. I really not.
Yeah.
very picky with your 5 stars, except for like the 30 volumes of Attack on Titan that all got 5 stars.
Stop. I'm gonna kill you. Oh my god. Sorry you just joined right now. But hey.
Hi.
Hopefully you've read Gone Girl as well. Don't worry, no spoilers yet though.
Okay, wait. When do we get into the or like what non-spoilery stuff can we talk about? Other than I liked I didn't like it. Like what? Yes.
Also, to answer this question, yes, I read all of Gillian Flynn's works.
I think I read the Dark Places. Is it called?
Yeah.
I think I read that. I always confuse Dark Places and Sharp Objects because they're like the same name but just different names. So I don't remember, but I read one of them. I read one of those. I think I also gave it like 2 stars or something.
Honestly, it was not very good. To me, Gone Girl is like S tier, and then and then Sharp Objects is like B tier, and then Dark Places is like C tier. So that's my order.
Oh, I must have read Dark Places then, I think.
Yeah, I think you did. Was it the one with like it's not
cult or something?
Yeah, the cult one.
Okay, yeah.
Ooh. Well, looks like I won't be reading them since I didn't even like Gone Girl.
I mean,
maybe your tiers are reversed.
Oh.
So you're like Gone Girl is the S tier of D tier.
Maybe.
Because like that was like I like her like her publication order goes Dark Places, Sharp Objects, then Gone Girl. So I like her recent stuff more than like her other ones. So
yeah,
I don't know.
We like to see improvement.
Oh, thank you. Interesting. It's my least favorite.
Hot takes. Let us know why though, because I'm very interested. Like,
me too. Which
elements worked better for you? I love
Sharp Objects. Ooh, so we have like a favorite of all 3 of them in the chat. It's my second favorite because
of all thrillers or of hers.
Oh, of hers, not of all thrillers. I don't have any coherent thoughts on why, but it just didn't vibe with me. But it was very freaky. I like that part.
Valid.
Thank you.
I mean, I feel like she again, from limited experience of 2 books, I do feel like she does like a decent job with her characters. Yeah. So even if I'm like, I hate this character and I don't like them, I'm still like, but they're developed though. Like there's no point where I'm like, we're so flat, plain, one-dimensional. Like every single person has some dimension to them. And I do appreciate, like, especially when there is never, like, a character that's just, like, they were just there to be the cop character. Like there has to be, like, the cop that functions as, like, the detective or whatever, or, like, the cop that's the bad guy or whatever. Like, they have to be something. They can't just be a random bystander for no reason.
That's also, Emma, let us know why you like Sharp Objects of the 2 you've read.
Also, like, all of her characters I hated, but I feel like I actually like unlikable characters when they have like redeeming qualities that are believable. But these characters really did not have any. Like,
see, that's the thing. Though, like, at first, I was like, "Oh, Nick's not so bad," and then Nick would do some stuff, and I was like, "I'm very bad." And then, like, even like having watched the movie, where like the opening scene of the movie is like, I think it's one of Amy's like diary entries, so it's already like Nick is horrible, and I'm like, ugh. But the thing is, like, after certain things happened in the book, I was flip-flopping between like how I felt about Amy, because I was like reading her entries, I was like, I don't know if she's a good person, I don't know if she is, but at a certain point I was like, oh, this is really cool, like it's really good that she's this type of person, like obviously not 100% an angel, but I like her character. And then after a while I felt like she was further developed to a point where I was like, actually, I really don't like her, because the kind of reasons that she does the things that she does are like really messed up, and she's just using people. And yeah, I thought I was on board for that over here, but then the way that she does it and the reasons why, I can't get behind. So it's interesting to like see how, like, what a difference it made for me on how I felt about her based on why she did the things she did, even though her morals were kind of the same. So I felt like that was kind of like
deserves to be locked up.
Wow.
I mean, yes, it's not good, but it was interesting to think about.
I felt like literally the same way because I was in the beginning totally on Amy's side. Like, Nick is a piece of shit. Like, cut that man off. Like, I'm glad you're doing what you're doing. And then we come to that little shift, and I'm like, hold on, whose side am I really on? And then we go to the end of the book, and I'm like, neither side. Y'all both need to go to jail.
Okay, also the thing that you said where there was like the water tank and they like slapped the demon.
So factual. Like, I'm actually so concerned. Oh wait, this is a spoiler. Never mind.
Honestly, I think everyone's here has read it, so spoilers.
It's spoiler time.
Spoilers. Like, they're actually gonna be parents. I'm so concerned for that child.
I know.
Yeah, that was a bit a lot.
I was talking to a friend about this, and she's like, I hate endings who do that because it, like, what is the point? And originally I felt that way, but then looking at it in retrospect, I'm like, this just proves how messed up they are even more.
Yeah.
And I love
that. Okay, the thing is, like, in the movie, wait, have you both not watched it, or
I've seen the movie?
Okay. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure like somewhere around 3/4 of the way, so like halfway is like the plot twist, or like a little earlier than that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But like 3/4 of the way is when she returns and the media is like, oh my God, she's back. And then like shortly after that, she's like, and I'm pregnant. And everyone's like, what? So it was like part of the media circus that she was pregnant. So it was like, you can't divorce your like pregnant wife who just came back to you from the dead or whatever. So then it was like, oh, that's why she did all this stuff. But when I was reading the book, I was like, does she like not get pregnant in the book? Maybe it's just like not a part of the book. And it was like the last like 15 pages and she was like, I'm pregnant. And I was like, what? Wait, what?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my God.
I feel like it was also a plot device because like there was the whole inner monologue with Nick not wanting to kill her now because she's pregnant, and he's like, I want to protect my child, except we probably know he's going to kill the baby. I mean,
what? Where did you come to that conclusion?
Remember at the end when he's like, I wanted to kill my wife because she framed me, but now I don't because she's pregnant and I wouldn't want to hurt my child. But like, is he?
No, like, the big thing was more of like he can't divorce his wife or what? Because like he was writing a manuscript that was like, I hate my shitty wife or something. Right? And he was like, hey wife, look at this thing I wrote about you. And she was like, nice. Want to see something? Pregnancy test. And he was like, oh my God. So he like burned the manuscripts and everything.
Yeah.
Because his whole thing was like, if he went public with his side of the story, then probably they would get divorced and everything, and it would be a media circus. But the problem was then she could spin everything to be like, see how awful he is. And she would just give birth to the kid and then tell the kid, like, see how awful your dad is. And actually, I was right all along. And he just couldn't stand the idea of her like controlling the narrative for a small child that was his child. So I thought it wasn't really about him killing her or the child or anything. It was more so about like he was never really going to go through with killing her. And also I don't think he even could because he's just not smart enough.
That's what I was gonna say. I don't think Nick is like mentally good enough to like actually like go through with
the thing is like you have to be smart, but you also have to be like out of your mind in a way where it's like you absolutely don't touch any of the morals at all that you were raised to actually understand of like don't hurt people, number one, but also like manipulating and abusing people constantly throughout the years where it's not just like I'll do it one time and then I'll leave and I won't have to deal with the repercussions. But Amy was like, I'll just do whatever I want and I will put up with it because I put up with enough and I could put up with anything. And in a way I was like, oh, that's like, in a weird way, that's like feminism?
Rachel.
Strong, powerful woman. I get it. I'm behind it. But then I was like, cool, like terrible, but cool. Like think about it. I'm sure there is a man you could instantly think of that you hate so much, even if you've never met him. Okay. All right. So like if you're like, if that guy's wife somehow manipulated a media circus to make it look like he killed her and then he was under fire and everybody hated his guts and then manipulated this whole thing and then came back, it would be like, interesting. Okay, I kind of like her for doing that, even though it was messed up. I enjoy it because he sucks so much and I really don't like him. So I'd be like, cool. But the things I really could not get behind for Amy was then when she was like fully just completely taking advantage of people who like did not deserve it, where it was no longer like a vigilante type of justice, but it was just like a, for me, purely selfish, I will do whatever I want, I literally don't care about anybody else. Then I was like, oh no, like that was like where the line was drawn for me, because if someone really truly deserves it, and I don't even fully think I could say that Nick 100% deserves it, but a lot of times it really felt like it with the different things that she was writing, which also blurs the line between reality and the things that she wrote, because you don't fully know, like, was it just the fact that he was cheating on her, which was really bad, but was he like also being abusive and all these different things that she wrote, or were those complete full fiction? And I think that's like what made it interesting, because Nick could say whatever he wants, but if he's like lying to the cops or if he's lying to the reader, then it's doesn't mean that it wasn't true. Because I think he also lied where he was like, I never met that woman, I never met her. And then finally they were like, we know. And he was like, all right, reader, I'll let you know. I know her. Yeah. I had sex with her. And it was like, so what's even true? Like, why are you even talking to me?
I like exactly what this comment means, like, but I was not on your wavelength, Rachel, like being on being on Amy's side for even a little bit. Like, you were saying how for the people that actually deserved it, like you could see where she's like coming from and whatever. But like I never thought anything she did was justified. Yeah. I just saw her from like a completely psycho, like not a good person aspect. And then when you see it that way, it's so easy to just be like seeing it as like a third party, you know what I mean? And not like actually.
Dang. I feel like I've just like read about enough horrible men that I'm just like, it's fine.
No, but like
that's true.
I was more in it from seeing it as like a bystander, if that makes sense, of seeing how like strategic she was being and how like manipulative it was. Like that to me was fascinating. But the fact that like, you know, she's been manipulating people for years, and you know what she did to that guy, I forget his name, but you know, the one at the house that she stayed at and she murdered him.
Danny?
What's his name?
Donnie?
Donnie.
I don't think it's Donnie.
I just read
Desi. It's Desi.
Desi. Yes, sir. Yeah. Like when she was doing all that stuff, I was like, all right, girl. Like,
well, see, that's the thing is like when she ends up in Desi's house, it was almost like she. Thank you. It was almost like she got. I wouldn't say like what she deserved, but it was almost like she got herself in a situation that was like, is this actually what you wanted? Because she was like, Desi will protect me and it'll be fine and I can control him, so it doesn't matter. But then Desi was like being very controlling of her, where it was like, you stay in this house. Would you like me to move in with you? Oh, I've locked all the doors. That way Nick can't come get you. Oh, don't worry. We can watch the TV together, but I will always be at your side. And he like absolutely never left her alone. And she was like, I kind of hate this. Maybe I should kill him. And I was like, okay, maybe I should kill him is not the correct response. But I understand like why she would be that way, because at that point she's like so over the edge where it's like, I'm drunk with power. I could do it again because I got away with it the first time. What's stopping me? And I feel like that was absolutely close to like where she's, you know, doing things she absolutely should not be doing. There's no really coming back from like a pure murder of a person or anything like that. But I thought it was interesting that like she actually got herself in a, I don't know, like worse situation than she was in with Nick, because at least Nick like left her alone and she could do stuff that she wanted to do. But Desi was just like the opposite of Nick, which she realized. And I don't think that it really made sense for her to be like, man, I actually miss Nick. Because I was like, are you literally falling for his like fake interview stuff?
Yeah, wait, that part was so out of character, because I was like, okay, she's a very smart woman. She like planned all this out.
Yeah.
Why is she making this stupid decision? But I think that was also part of like her unreliable narrative thing. Like it wasn't actually why she went back, but I was like, yeah, out of character. Also, very well said, both of you. I'm very glad you're explaining a lot of the second part of the plot.
No, because to me, I was more in it for like Rachel's giving her like opinions on these characters. I'm here like, bad people do bad things. Keep going. Like
so eloquent. No, yeah, beautiful. No, but I was like panicking when I was reading the second half of the book because I like procrastinated don't know if I mentioned.
Oh, that kind of panic. Okay.
Yeah, that kind of panic. So I didn't comprehend
Susan was like, I am not remotely affected by the events of the book. I just want to be done. Like, there was no panic in terms of plot.
No,
Okay,
definitely not.
I was very shocked because I think maybe either I forgot this from the movie or wasn't in it. But when Amy makes the scavenger hunt for Nick, and it's like, this is for our anniversary, and it's like wood is the thing of the, like, you know, each year is like a
Oh yeah, that was just.
She left different things, and each one was like kind of creepy, but she was able to play it off, which I was like, that's a little suspicious. But she like literally left two like dolls that were
that was so
one like kills the other one for having a baby or something, and she was just like, oh, I just thought they were cute little wooden dolls, I just saw them, I didn't think about it. And the other one's supposed to be I don't know, but he thought it was going to be a crib at the end for the baby, but then he opens up the thing and it's just full of all the stuff that she bought with his credit cards, with the insurance money that would be coming in after she died, to like further create this whole thing. But I just remember like listening to that part where he opens the thing and like the narrator just goes, no, 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 no. And then the chapter just changed and I was like,
oh yeah,
no, 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 what? And I just like kept rewinding it. So I was like, did I miss something? Did you say something? Did I miss it? Am I in shock? I don't know what's going on. And like the thing where he actually finds it and his sister's like, don't touch anything. And he goes inside and he finds like whatever the thing was. I was just like, this is a whole other level. Like there's a difference between writing a fake diary for years and then fully committing to buying all this stuff, throwing it in a shed, and then leaving a breadcrumb trail so that your husband's fingerprints are on everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's next level galaxy brain. I'm not there
yet.
I
love that.
Like what didn't make sense to me was like she like all the stuff she did was they were like inside jokes, like all the clues she left, and then also the creepy dolls. And then she had the interview with the police at the end where they were like, can you explain all this and why it's so coincidental with like cheating with Andy, I think was her name.
Yeah.
Also like the doll thing where it clearly lines up with their situation of him, like her framing him for killing her because she was pregnant. Like all that stuff she very easily explained, and the police just like believed her right away, which was kind of sus.
Yeah,
like
the police don't ever. Yeah, what was the purpose?
But I feel like maybe they Gillian Flynn could have talked about this a little bit more, but I feel like the point was that the media had already shaped the whole story. So that the fact that everybody was so against Nick made sense for why the police were like, Nick, literally anything you say, I don't care, I'm going to arrest you. Because they were just so against him already. And then when Amy comes back, they're already framing the story of like, America's sweetheart has now returned and everybody's so happy. And so like, yeah, the truth may be that Amy actually did this whole thing, but what story do people want to hear before they like tuck their kids in at night? Like, yes, Gone Girl itself is a fantastic story that we love to hear about in fiction, but if it happened in real life, people would be terrified, and they're not allowed to air that stuff on the Today Show. So they probably were like, we're already kind of thinking of what's the truth and what's bizarre, because who could really go to all these lengths to frame their husband in all these ways? Because you would have to line up everything so perfectly. And what are the odds? Apparently, if you're Amy Dunn, the odds are extremely 100% very good. But for most people, it's like you would have gotten caught, something would have gone wrong. And I feel like for Amy, it was very easy for her to just be like, I'm in shock, I can't answer the question. But she was already like so textbook prepared for everything that she was like, I'm literally not even worried. And I do think it's still convenient that she got away with it. But I think that's also like, the whole point of things is that like a lot of times people do bad things and they get away with it, but if someone does something bad that's actually against a bad guy and they get away with it, is it so bad?
Yeah, that's true. Like I get why the public believed her, but I just like remember that one cop, Bonnie, I think was her name. I don't know, but she was like the whole time she was like, Nick, I'm kind of on your side because this whole thing does seem like very sus. So I don't get why she.
Well, at the end, the cops, like I think her name's Bonnie, but her and I think her partner were talking with Nick, and they were like, "Can you get Amy to confess? Because if you can, we can help you." But then Amy was like, "Oh, you want to hear how I did it? Okay, I'll tell you." And she made him strip down, go in the shower, and she whispered it for like 10 minutes under cold water. And she was like, "This is the only way that nobody could hear me, and I know you don't have a wire on you." And then he came back and he was like, well, she told me, but I was naked in the shower for 10 minutes. And she whispered. And they were like, well, do you have a wire on you? And he was like, no. So it's like she was like fully prepared even for like the aftermath. And I feel like that's also partially why it becomes so creepy, because at that point when you're against Amy, but you're not really on Nick's side either, then it does become like quite a creepy idea that someone could really go to these lengths and just get away with it to that extent, that like even if you really tried your hardest to do like an undercover mission, a covert mission, it still would fail because it wouldn't be smart enough for her.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I feel like it's even creepier because I, like, in the first half of the book, like, it was very boring for me, but I do think it was very relatable. I'm sorry, Nidhi. Like,
it's okay, because you're right. The first half is only the plot twist is really what makes it worth it, you know, for me.
Yeah, but the relationship in the first half was actually like really relatable, and the character, both Amy and Nick, I feel like a lot of people would relate to them because they were obviously like, they seemed like good people in the beginning, but they had their flaws here and there. So I feel like readers would be like, "Oh, I see myself in them," but then they turn into these like sociopaths, and then it's like,
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, but like anyone in a relationship like that, like with like in the generally good relationship like they were in the first half with their ups and downs, like I feel like that's a relationship that a lot of people could relate to, and then for that to turn on its head so fast, like that's very scary, because I guess that kind of situation could happen to anyone.
See, I don't want to ever get married or have children, so
this is why we need women.
It was never like, I never put myself in the situation, which is what I usually do in my books that I read. Like, that's my favorite part of reading, to be in the character situations and all that. But in this book, it was just different to me because I saw them as totally, completely different people. And like reading about like domestic relationships like that is sometimes like my favorite part, because, you know, the hopeless romantic in me was like, wait, this is really cute. And then you read more into it and you're like, wait, this is not very cute. This is like something's happening. And I was just like blown away by the strategy and like the months of preparation it took for her to completely turn the book around, like completely, because I did not see that coming at all, as we, you know, went over. And then we go even more into how I just like don't want to be on anyone's side, because like I think we can come to the conclusion that like nobody deserves any of this, like no matter like you know what I mean, like coming at it from a completely objective standpoint, like not even putting myself near what is happening in the book. But when you do, you start to notice little things, and it, to me, it's not really like a morality issue, because at the end of the day, like, period, this isn't okay. You're both psycho. Like, please go away from each other. But when you look at it in like a reader perspective, and not per se enjoyment, because like I'm a bit scared if you enjoyed everything that was happening in here, but to me, that was the most interesting part, and that's why I really like it.
I think it was like, I totally agree also with the domestic aspect in the beginning, because I feel like, especially with the whole thing about like being the cool girl, is like literally
that monologue,
everything that has been told to girls since I was a kid, where it was like, you got to be the cool girl, you got to be one of the guys, and like people like this thing, and you just got to pretend that you like it too, and just study up on like how sports work, so that way when someone asks you about a sport, you're like, sports? I know every sport. I can name 5 sports right now, whatever. Like, the point is, like, you have to be, like, so not even your own person.
Yeah.
And I feel like that kind of caused some, like, real dissociation in Amy from Nick and all the guys that she dated before that, but also from her parents, because she was amazing. And they were like, we're just going to make up this story about amazing Amy, who's always perfect. And the fact that it became this like best-selling children's thing, and everyone reads about amazing Amy and being like, and that's amazing Amy. It's like, amazing Amy can't have any problems. She can't have like a bad marriage. She can't be addicted to drugs. She can't have a drinking problem. She can't have any problems whatsoever. And she had all those problems, like, you know, on the inside, in terms of, I'm unhappy, I'm not in a good relationship, I want my life to be different, but I can't let my family down, I can't let the thousands of people who know about me down. And then having all these different like personas that she could just put on in front of these different people, I think completely changed, like, I don't even think she had a personality at the end. I think she was literally an empty shell that just replaced different faces when it was necessary, because by the end of it, she was like, I literally don't even know who I am. I could just become anybody and it would be that easy, because I could just figure out what it is I need to do in this situation and come up with a character. Like when she's in the trailer park area and she just comes up with a character for herself and she's like, it's that easy. Like,
that was my favorite part to read about, the trailer park area.
Because I think she did mess up once where like she said something kind of weird, but she still was able to like spin it. And I feel like the fact that she can do that without even really like preparing that much ahead of time actually speaks to like how I don't know, like it's almost sad. Like you almost pity Amy for like the things that went wrong in her childhood, but then as she grows up and she never really like gets help, she never really changes or anything like that, then it's the kind of pity that's like, I wish that you had changed before it was too late, but now it's already too late.
Yeah.
I find her incredibly relatable though, because not that I'm saying I'm like that, but like, you know, putting on different faces and like trying to be who you think you are is just so relatable to me in a different way. Not at all. Okay, this is
nobody's calling you a psychopath. It's fine.
But it's just it to me it just made sense why she's the way she is, and especially coming in from Gillian Flynn's amazing writing and amazing character character structure of how she was structured to be. I just thought it fit so well, and I don't know, it was just really mind-blowing for me.
No, I totally agree too. And I mean, like, I think everybody to a certain degree has different faces, whether one is a murderer or not. I feel like everybody has like a thing where like, you know, you have the face that you have in front of your parents, you have the face you have in front of your friends, you have the face you have in front of your close friends, in front of your coworkers, in front of people you don't really know. But then also if someone was like, go over there and do this thing and pretend that you're this person. Some people can just do that. And it's not hard because they can just snap into that mode and go like, okay, now I'm a confident person. I can just walk into that room and pretend like I know everything. Yeah. Now, for me, I like to go to events that have free food. So I would sometimes just pretend to be somebody else and go in there and get some free food. And then I would leave. They'd be like, oh, what program are you in? And I was like, I'm in this thing. Bye. Like,
wow, Rachel.
Girl, take me next time. That's my dream.
Well, once COVID is over, once COVID is novid, we're gone. But I don't know. I mean, like, some of those things are harmless, and some of those things, like, I think, like, the idea of having to wear a face, never being able to be totally yourself, and or like, I guess like mask is a better analogy, but like having a mask at all times and stacking your masks instead of being able to take them all off and just be who you are with any single person in your life. I feel like that's part of why Amy dissociated enough to think that it was okay to do all the things that she was doing, because she had actually no tethers to anybody in her life, and she had nobody to actually convince her, like, this is not okay. The relationship that you're in is not good. You could just leave him. And she was like, no, I will get revenge because he made me do all these things. But a healthy person would be like, it's time to step away. It's time to get a divorce. But she didn't do that.
When we were talking about Amy, I think we also need to talk about Nick and how even cheating doesn't, you know, level to anything of what happened in the book. Not that I'm saying cheating is like justifiable in every situation, but to me, that was very minuscule on the retrospect of what Amy's been planning. But as Rachel was just talking about how she's not really right in the head to understand that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like in the beginning of the book, when you find out about the cheating, you're like, God damn it. This is probably why you killed your wife. It makes sense. Yeah. And then by the end, you're like, why did you do that, Amy? Like,
exactly. That's exactly how I felt. I'm glad we came to Loki the same conclusion there.
I'm also annoyed at Amy's parents because aren't they like child psychologists? But then they made this whole like they basically like capitalized off of her. And,
yeah.
Not like it's obvious. I'm not like blaming. Like she should take responsibility for like her actions, but like her parents should have seen the like. I'm so. How are they? What? Because the thing of their degrees, like
the thing is, like I feel like it could almost go two ways. Like number one is that they were such good child psychologists, and Amy knew it, that she had to find ways to like just like dodge out of the way of their analysis, so she would remain normal enough around them that they would be like, my child is fine. And it's like, your child is gonna grow up and go murder somebody, but okay. So like there's that, idea. But then the other one is that sometimes when you think that you're at the top of your field or whatever, you just assume that everything is fine, because if it wasn't, you would see it. But there are so many things that just because you're in the field doesn't mean that you're going to catch anything. So like, you know, a child psychologist absolutely could raise somebody who has a lot of psychological issues in their childhood that never get resolved. And also, I don't think a child psychologist probably should be treating their kid. Probably somebody else should be.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Way too much of that stuff, but I don't know that they would even put her in therapy, because if they were like, oh, amazing Amy, the person who you sold all these books on is in therapy, there must be something wrong with her. And like, definitely back in like the 90s or earlier, whenever she was a kid, that was totally the message being put across her, was like, if you're in therapy, there must be something wrong with you, instead of like, it's fine to go to therapy, because if there's something wrong with you, let's fix it.
Yeah.
Like a doctor. So I feel like that's definitely a big part of it too.
Yeah, I'm not annoyed at them for not sending her to therapy, because obviously she's very good at pretending that she was fine. Mm-hmm. But it's just like, why would you think it's a good idea to write like literally a series called Amazing Amy? Like, don't you think that would have any repercussions?
To me, that just adds more to her character. Like, it just makes sense why she went off the rails and why she's doing the things she's doing. And although, like, you know, not good decisions were made, the purpose was there. And to me, that's what makes it a really good thriller.
I also do think that like parents would totally do that, even though it's so bad to do. But I totally believe that somebody would do that for their own kid, to be like, look, my child's the best. Want to prove it? I wrote an entire best-selling children's series on it, and it's taught in every single classroom around America. It's like, no pressure. Totally awesome.
Also, to go to this comment, I just completely skipped over it. I was not emotionally disturbed by sharp objects, even though it was incredibly disturbing. I think out of all three of them, that is definitely the most disturbing one. And I think this would be the least disturbing one, because it was more like psychological, not really.
Dark Places was like very gory with the things that happened.
Sharp Objects is even more gory. So
okay,
yeah.
I definitely sometimes think that like thrillers can sometimes teeter over into like almost like a gory horror genre, and I definitely prefer like psychological horror. Like, I love psychological horror. I've come to realize I just didn't know that was like the genre for me, but it definitely is. But I feel like when it's too bloody and it's like, then I'm gonna pull someone's fingernail off, I'm like, absolutely not. I'm closing it. Like, no, disgusting. Leave me alone. But when I'm gonna ruin someone's life, I'm like, okay, tell me something.
I think it's
so that was not my type, but like I'm more into that kind of stuff. But once you read a lot of them, you're just like, I know what's gonna happen here, and it happens, and you're like, well, we'll do that.
Yeah, like I think it's because my tastes are different from you guys, and that's why I rated it differently. Because I hate all the psychological thrillers I've read. Like, I don't know if you guys read Silent Patient.
I have
Silent Patient. Yes.
Yeah, I read the first 30 pages, and I'm like, I've been down here, but I'm gonna read it soon.
Oh yeah, it was like pure psychological thriller, and it was just not good. But I really liked.
It's just not good.
Huh?
I gave it like 4 stars.
I'm sorry, Rachel. Yeah,
it's fine. It's literally fine. I'm not offended.
Yeah, like our tastes are so different. Like, you hated The Starless
Sea. 2 stars.
But I really liked Rory Powers' book. I forgot what it was called, but Wilder Girls.
Wilder Girls. I haven't read that one.
I started that one, and I was like, isn't it YA? Did I make that up?
Yeah,
I think so.
YA thrillers and me have a complicated relationship, because none of them satisfy me.
But Nidhi is gonna read Monday's Not Coming.
Oh yeah,
100% different. Okay, wait. Okay, I have to plug Monday's Not Coming and Grown, because I read both of them pretty recently. I read Grown at the end of last month, and then I just finished Monday's Not Coming yesterday. And both of them like were the kind of books where you finish it and you immediately are like, I'm gonna reread this book right now. Like, they were both really good. And the thing is, like, I feel like I've read like one YA thriller before that, and I was like, it was pretty good, but I definitely see why this is not the genre that I read all the time, because I think like I've gotten more into YA more recently to be like open to trying stuff. But I guess like YA thrillers in general do not usually like dive into the topics that I want them to and approach them with the kind of severity and like patience that is needed for certain topics. And at the same time, I don't love it when I read like a thriller and the whole thing is just like someone got sexually assaulted and we're just going to talk about that the whole time and act like it's whatever. And I'm like, I hate that too. So like, where is the line? What is it that I want? But with Grown, I felt like that one did a really good job of, it did center abuse, but it wasn't like purely like sexual abuse and it's so awful and gory and disgusting. But it was like, what kind of things could somebody in a place of power do to you? And it's so realistic for the kinds of things that I used to think when I was young. And I was like, oh, is this normal? Is this how you're supposed to be treated by another person that you're in a relationship with or something? Because you don't know when you're young. But if someone takes advantage of you thinking that way, then you could absolutely see why the main character is in the situation that she's in. You don't blame her for being in the situation, but you're absolutely rooting for her to figure out like, this is not okay, and I think you should get out of it. And I don't even think that's a spoiler because the whole idea of it is like the power dynamic between a much older man and then the main character who is starstruck because he's a celebrity and he's going to help her achieve her dreams to become a singer. And he is like, I don't know, I guess like Justin Bieber levels of fame, I guess. I don't know like who else to compare him to because he's like a solo artist. But like if a person like that who you were in love with, even if you shouldn't be because he's like 15 years older than you, showed up and was like, I'm going to help you be a singer, then it's not really that unnatural for you to be in that situation. So that one was like really good, number one. But number two, Monday's Not Coming is like, it's the same idea where it's going to like still gut you, but it is the opposite. And yet it's the same genre. And they were both so good, and they were both 5-star reads. Because Monday's Not Coming is more so like from a middle school perspective, and the main character's best friend disappears, and no one else really seems to care as much, but the main character is constantly looking at, where is my best friend? What can I do to get her back? And let me actually investigate and go around. But a lot more is really going on behind the scenes, and I feel like it's still a story of development as a young person who's figuring out what it's like to be a growing up, but also without your best friend. And, you know, I don't really feel like contemporary stuff where it's like, how do I fit in is usually like that interesting to me. But Tiffany D. Jackson does an excellent job with like all of her character work, which I think will really appeal to you, Nidhi. But at the same time, I think she just does a really good job of like subverting genre tropes. So maybe that would appeal to you too, Susan. I mean, like if you're both willing to try them, I would love it.
I'm
I feel
definitely like trying them.
Big things that like really stood out to me is that like she does a great job with her characters. She does a great job with the story. And I definitely can see like some flaws that people could point out, but I think overall they're both the kind of like like things where you're like kind of destroyed by the end of them. So those are my recommendations.
Definitely, first of all, reading those and going on to YA thrillers or on about YA thrillers. Have you guys read Kara Thomas, like My Little Monsters, or
I haven't.
Have you guys read E. Lockhart, like We Were Liars?
Oh yeah, I did not like that.
Yeah, or Genuine Fraud. Like all of them have like certain. I think I talked about this in a video, so I feel like I'm repeating myself. But all YA thrillers just have certain boundaries set in place, and it just doesn't go to that length you want them to. And then regular thrillers to me are just incredibly tropey, or I just feel like I've read them before, or it doesn't exactly resonate to me, especially when, not that I've read a lot, but I read like literally less than like 3 thrillers a year. So it's not that much. Not that like my opinion is like given a lot of weight on the thriller genre, but yeah.
Yeah. I like don't really have a preference between YA and adult, but I just like gory stuff. Like I really like
Mexican Gothic.
Yeah, it was so gory, and like Wild the Girls also super gory. I can't speak. I'm sorry. But I think it's just a taste thing. Like if I was a psychological or thriller person, I would have probably rated this like 5 stars.
So. Thank you. Finally, I'm just kidding. But oh gosh, I forgot what I was gonna say. Nice.
Nice.
Wait. Did you say you hated Mexican Gothic?
No, I really liked it because it was so
good. No, I said I need to read it.
Oh, okay. Because I thought Susan was like, I liked Mexican Gothic, and Nidhi was like, hated it.
Oh.
I was like,
Oh, I was
So
gonna
good.
say, are you more into like action thrillers? Because I read No Exit last year, and that was not psychological at all. That was like
I
all action paced and whatever.
I don't, because it's like usually very plot based, and I don't like
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Like I read what's the one with the red cover?
Oh, Night Film?
Night
Huh?
Film?
Oh
Night Film?
no, it was like
Night
so
Film is so good. Y'all should read that.
I really
I
want
read
to do that.
things. But it was like alternate dimensions and like multiple copies of this one guy. And
Oh, Dark Matter.
yeah,
Like crap.
that was a very like action packed.
Oh yeah, I give that book like 2
Did not
stars.
like it. Yeah. So
I gave No Exit 3 stars. It was just, one thing after another, so I liked it.
For me, like I enjoyed Dark Matter, but the thing was, it started doing things with sci-fi that don't make sense.
yeah.
And I was like, it's totally fine if I don't understand, because like obviously people can have ideas that I don't quite understand yet, and it's just because I'm not simply smart enough, which is fine. But I felt like it broke its own rules, number one, and number two, it just felt very sexist, because the only reason he was doing stuff was he was like, my wife with her wine-stained lips, I just want to kiss her again. And I was like, you're disgusting. I'm gonna throw up right now. Like, stop. Don't speak to me. And he was like, I hate my son. And I was like, okay.
Speaking of the patriarchy,
Oh,
this book, oh my god,
My favorite topic.
Wow, it was really like
Yeah.
I like bitch, cunt, whore, slut was like thrown around so much, and I was just like not down for it. Whoops, is this supposed to be a PG-13? Like,
No, it's not. Trust me.
Also,
Trust
like
me.
fat phobia. There was so much fat
Yeah.
phobia.
Yeah, this book was kind of the worst in that, but I feel like most thrillers are, or maybe just most white authors.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing, is like sometimes I wonder if it's like a character choice, but then when it's just like the whole book, I'm like, no. It's a choice. Like, okay.
Yeah.
But, or it's like the thing where they're gonna play it off as like, no, the character is sexist. I'm not sexist. And I'm like, okay, but I know the truth. Like, it's fine.
It's like it is a fine line, because it is an adult thriller, so you'd think that like the audience is very conscious, like they'd be like, okay, they'd recognize that it's just the character and it's not acceptable. But what if like a younger person picks this up and they don't know yet that like that's not.
Well, it's that, and also, have you met some adults? Because some of them are just
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. Also, like, wasn't this book released in 2012, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So, I don't know what I was trying to say with that point.
But I think that's definitely like before like the general conscience understood like even what fat phobia was, or like the fact you should treat women nice a little bit sometimes. That was like not even being talked about in like wide enough circles for enough people to be like, I don't want to see this in my books because it's messed up. So I don't know, but I definitely think that like certain genres and certain things, like probably thrillers most of the time, definitely involve like a lot of like harsher language and a lot of things that are like just generally not nice to read, but they're supposed to be problematic because the author is not like, here's an exactly perfect crafted person who is just perfect and then they're going to solve a crime, because like nobody really wants to see like perfect Mary Jane, amazing Amy do nothing and then solve a crime because she's so amazing. Like there's always like other things around it, and they're like, this is how I build flavor, and I'm like, maybe, but also you could build flavor somewhere else. And I think that there is like a balance that could be had there, where like you don't have to make your main character like the worst, but I guess they could have flaws in like other ways. Like maybe they just pick their nose, they don't have to be fat phobic. Like you decide.
Yeah, and like also just the focus on the physical appearance of people was just, if I felt like my personal insecurities were brought out, is like every other page, this woman is the ugliest woman I've ever seen. That was dripping out of her arms. Her nose was the biggest thing I've ever seen.
I think that's why I was like, Amy's allowed to do this to Nick. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
It was just a lot, but
I don't know. He was awful. He was really awful. But the other thing is like, I don't know.
Everyone was awful.
Yeah.
I think like part of that definitely was built on purpose into Nick's
Yeah.
character to make
That's
him so
true.
despicable, so that when you're following
Yeah.
him, you're like, why am I following this guy? I hate this guy.
Exactly.
And so by the end, you're like, good. But then you're like by the end of his segment, when you get into Amy's, you're like, good. But then you get to end of Amy's segment, and you're like, no, for both of them. No.
Bad good?
No.
And I did think it was a bit weird, like near the end where they're both like, we're so messed up that we need each other. I was like, I'm not a big fan of this idea, but I feel like it's a very common thing for like two really messed up people to just be like, we're so messed up, we hate each other, but we love each other, but we hate each other. And the way we show it is by hating each other. I'm like, you guys can unpack that over there with each other, but I just truly don't. I'm not interested. Like, no, thank you.
Well, it is nice because I guess it keeps the rest of us a little safer.
Yeah.
Like, they're busy doing their own thing, their messed up thing, like, together. So we don't have to deal with it. Because I guess if they were with normal people, like, that's
more harm.
Yeah.
Like, see, everybody loves the enemies to lovers trope, but Gillian Flynn was like, what about lovers to enemies?
Enemies. Ooh, wait, I might raise my. Nah.
Like, okay.
This whole thing is
I like it.
And that it was actually a better read than it was.
Working.
Yeah, I'm glad we at least agree it was written well, because that was my favorite part about it.
Yeah, I did enjoy it a lot. I also think if you really liked Gone Girl, you might also really like Behind Closed Doors, which I really love. That's like my favorite. Well, now I don't know because now I read Tiffany D. Jackson books, but like I think I still really, really love Behind Closed Doors the most because I read it a while ago and it just has stuck with me for like 3 years or something. I don't know, 2 years. It was really, really good. And unfortunately, it's another psychological thriller. So, Susan, I don't know. But this is the one where you're like also outright like the man is trash and you're like.
Ooh. I like hating men. That's what I do.
So maybe you'll like it.
So.
But because the thing is like Behind Closed Doors at the beginning is like the perfect marriage between these two people. I think it's like Grace and Jack or whatever. I forget their names. But they're like the perfect marriage and everyone's like, wow. But it shows you how actually he is like the worst ever. And he is basically just like a psychopath that's keeping her hostage in a way. Like they are literally married, but he like completely tricked her the whole way along to like get all of her money so it's under his control and like basically like lock her inside so she can't go anywhere. And every time like she's hanging out with friends, he's always there so she can't say anything. So he like fully sets it up so that she's stuck with him. And by the end of it, you're sort of like, so how's she going to get out of this? Or like, what could she even do in the first place? And I feel like it does have a lot of those tricks that you enjoyed, Nidhi, with like, how do you think this so far through? Or like, how could you really torture a person to think that like, oh, maybe you have a chance to get out, but then I'm going to pull it away from you at the last instant. So I feel like
I love that. How do you know me so well?
Yeah, like that's a huge factor of like why I loved it, because I was like, there's a certain kind of cruelty that comes out of this, which I think makes his character so much more despicable, and it kind of makes you like root even harder for like, how could she possibly get out of this? Because now you know he's pure evil. I will say, if you have any trigger warnings for like an animal death, be careful of that, because that does happen. And I think that's like especially cruel for him, because I think there are like, obviously I don't think you should abuse humans, but also like animals are so innocent where like they've literally done nothing wrong ever. So it's also like another line that you cross where you're like, the worst. Cool. So
also,
but it's very
last thing before I end this book, I'm going to be talking about like one of my favorite lines of the book, or like favorite parts, was obviously I really like when she went to that one cabin area or whatever, you know what I'm talking about. But what I really liked is how she like planned her death when Nick wasn't, you know, gonna come on TV and ask her back. How she was gonna like put stones in her pockets and drown herself because she has the resolve for it. And that to me is just peak fiction. So
yeah, in like the way she called it, like discipline and strength to kill herself, and then like also commit murder. It was really scary because like I feel like okay, So in our current society, we're like, oh, you're incredibly disciplined and strong if you can make a ton of bank. Like, I feel like it's very easy to say anything like is an accomplishment, even if it's like very like I don't know, a lot of
like it's not. Like it literally
Yeah.
is not an accomplishment to kill yourself. It's a terrible thing that you should not do.
Well, yeah,
like for sure your
like-
society could like shape it to be like, but if you have discipline, if
yeah,
you are very strong of mind, you can do anything. And I
Yeah.
think it's so easy, especially because like she clearly had like everyone's not going to argue that she had like psychological issues, but I think that she definitely had like very deep depression. So for her, it was like, oh, it would be so easy for me to actually end my life, and I would do this and this and this. And I think suicidal ideation to the point of like, oh, and I'm going to go through with it too, is like especially terrifying because she really thought of it as like, I am mentally well enough and strong enough to do it, so I'll just go do it. And that's like a huge thing in depression is like a lot of people who are suicidal are really genuinely thinking about how they would end their lives, and they have to have like the mental fortitude to go through with it. And hopefully they don't, because you don't want them to die. But to see a person to have like the strength, like, you know, the resolve to do something like that, but then to like so quickly flip-flop, it shows like the kind of mental state that she was in, where she was like very much spiraling. And it was really hard to like even pinpoint her down in any kind of area because she was not well. She was very not well.
Yeah.
But I totally agree with you with the whole like people frame everything as like, if you have discipline, if you're really like, you know, if you have discipline, you'll be on time, you'll have a good job, and you'll make a lot of money, and that's the end goal of life.
Yeah.
But you can also like make that something else.
Yeah.
Because you
It's
have
like,
discipline.
I hate the word discipline so much because it's like
Same.
I just hear people saying like, "Oh,
I don't have any.
I'm so disciplined that I'm gonna give up like time with my family or like watching a show to study or like to do work." And it's like, why are you using like why does discipline in this sense have a positive connotation? Like, wouldn't you rather be happy than
Period.
Not happy?
yeah?
What
It's,
makes you happy?
anyway,
Yes.
rant done.
No, anyway,
I 1000% agree, because I think like I used to be like a big workaholic before COVID, because I would work in the office till like 7 or 9 p.m. or something for no reason. Like nobody asked me to. I would just do it. And I would like listen to audiobooks and stuff. So I was like always reading like 30 or 40 books a month, like no problem. But that was so bad because I was just like, oh, it's good. It's my time to listen to my books or whatever. And I'm getting all this work done. But it was really imposter syndrome because I was like, oh, if I'm not good enough, I need to work longer hours. But at some point, I think I also like listen to a lot of podcasts. And I think somebody was talking about like being a workaholic and stuff. And then somebody like posed something that was very interesting where they were like, imagine that tomorrow, like if you got fired from your job, what would happen? So you would have to move on with your life, but you would realize that you gave them like 5 extra hours every single day and they didn't care. It wasn't good enough. So it's not like you're not good enough at your job, whatever. But the point is like, what if you gave them 25 extra hours every single week for no reason? Nobody asked you to. But why did you do that? You could have spent 25 hours per week for that period of time you're working doing something for yourself, doing something fun.
Exactly.
It didn't matter. You didn't have to do that. So I was like, okay. And then the other thing is like, let's say you work like 10 hours a day instead of 8. That means that from then on, they will actually expect from you a 10-hour length like amount of work every single day. So if you're like, tomorrow, actually, I'm only going to work 8 hours. They're like, but last time you actually met your numbers at this thing. So why aren't you doing that this week? Like, what's going on with that? Like, what's wrong with you? Where it's like, no, actually, I worked way harder last time, but now you expect a standard of me, which I can't accomplish unless I work that many hours, and I don't want to do that. So I feel like it's so important to set those boundaries. And yes, sometimes you have to give things up to study or work harder or whatever, but it should never be like, I'm going to work so hard, and that's my whole personality. Yeah. Never let yourself get to that point. It is never worth it. If you, like, God forbid it, if you, like, died tomorrow and you spent, like, 90% of your life just working, why would you do that to yourself? So if you have to like think about, why are we talking about this? This is Gone Girl. I don't know. But the point is like, if you have to like spend your life doing something, make it fun. And even if your work is not fun, make sure you do fun stuff when you're not at work. Please don't work harder than you have to.
On that note, we are ending the live show with let capitalism win and just take time for yourself and put minimum effort to get the job done.
That's not what I said, but fine.
Okay, well, that's my logic at work because I'm like, if you're paying me what, like $10 an hour, I'm not doing the most here. Anyway,
he also is like, a man's there and I'm not serving him. So
literally, no, but I am a Capricorn, so I do the extra mile no matter what. I literally have to tell people how to do their job for no reason. It's whatever. It's whatever. It's what are we talking about? Anyway, I love our thank you.
I love it because now we're all about to be gone. Girl, it's fine.
The girl is gone now. The girls are gone. Anyway, I just want to say a big thank you to Rachel and Susan for being here because I don't know why y'all agreed for this when we didn't.
I'm so happy it happened because I've been looking forward to it. I'm excited about it.
Every month, Rachel's like, "Hey, this month," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'll announce it in a video," and then I haven't uploaded in 3 months. So
I think we said we would do it in December.
We did. That's why I read it in December. I had so many other books I had to read, and I was like, I'll prioritize Gone Girl.
Okay, in my defense, Susan didn't read it till today, so I am not the procrastinator.
What do you mean in your defense? In Susan's defense.
Anyway, I love you guys so much, and thanks for everyone who joined the live show. I appreciate it, and hopefully we can schedule another live show in the future, even if it'll be 5 months late. Please.
That'll be fine. August, see you there. We'll see you all there.
Sure. Monday's not coming. Let's see. Okay.
I'm down.
I'm down. I'll start tomorrow.
I own it. Yeah. Wait.
Okay, next month. And Susan cannot be reading. Susan is reading the day of the live show. You have to be done.
But my brand.
All right. Monday's not coming. It is. We're doing it.
Excited.
All right, it's gonna happen.
Anyway, thanks everyone. Gonna end the broadcast. Have a happy Friday. Love you guys.
Friday.
Have a great weekend.